So thank you for joining us on our panel session and discussion all around everything you need to know ahead of Black Friday. So I'll pull the panel up in a minute. I just thought that as we have done with all of these in the past, we will just do a quick introduction on why Modo25 and Bosco are authorized to talk about these sort of things. And then I'll introduce Neil and Rebekah, who are going to join us. Unfortunately, Sally couldn't join us today due to some last minute business commitments. So in terms of our business, we specialize in helping digital marketing companies in-house over time. And then we use our Bosco platform to help organize everybody's data and pull it into one place. So if you want to understand how to in-house your digital marketing, if that's something on your agenda, feel free to scan that QR code. We did an in-housing white paper with TUI, Hertz, Gymshark, and The Drum. So, or just email me at askbosco.io and they'll email you straight away with a copy where you can download that without any of the sort of usual links or anything. We're not going to ask you for any more data. So that's a sort of giveaway and a little freebie for the weekend. And then we've got the next webinar in a couple of weeks, the 12th of October, where we're going to be talking all about affiliates. And this is the sort of polite version of the title, which is I wanted to put our affiliates stealing our money. And really want to get underneath where affiliates should fit in. And we've actually got Awin on, and we've got Lee, who's a very seasoned affiliates professional. They're going to be sort of discussing the pros and cons of where affiliates should fit into your channels. So join us again on the 12th. But just introducing our business. So there's two sides to our business, and we help brands and retailers, specifically e-commerce retailers, in-house their digital marketing over time, and then we support them to sort of execute that with our marketing AI to help them drive their profit and growth. And that's our Bosco platform. And we provide all the usual full service agency services you'd expect. So everything from your PPC through to your CRO. But behind the scenes, we've got a very experienced team of retail data scientists who helped build our Bosco platform. So we also offer a lot of other services as well. But it isn't really about just that. What we want to talk about today is sort of where does Black Friday fit into all of this? And there's a slightly bigger story behind our business. So I met my business partner on a charity bike ride from Paris to Geneva many years ago, and we were raising money for a Ugandan orphanage. And within that, we decided when we set this business up, we wanted to name it after one of the children at the orphanage. So Modo is the name of one of the children at the orphanage, and she represents 280 other children. And across all the different charity activities we get involved with every year, we raise over £200,000 a year to help support the kids at One More Child. And we actually named our software after the founder of the charity, called Bosco. And also over a third of our team at Modo 25 actually donate some of their salary every month to help the kids in Uganda. But the big question Bosco and our agency is always trying to answer is, where do I invest my next pound, dollar or euro? And it's a really complicated question to ask. And most of us have become addicted to Google Shopping. And I'm sure there'll be some phenomenal amounts of money spent in October and November as we lead up to sort of Black Friday. And ultimately, though, are people just gambling with their budgets? And I think as we head into this time of uncertainty, are we going to be squeezed on our budgets? How's that all going to play out? So we're also going to sort of cover some of that today. But we built Bosco to try and give these sort of a complex answer, solve this complex puzzle using our decision intelligence platform. And ultimately, it gives you all the data, everything in one place, and it enables you to take control of your digital marketing and to enable you to ask better questions and make better decisions. So I'm not going to give a demo today. This isn't what it's about today, but if you do want a demo, just get in touch with us and we can set you up with a bespoke demo with your data. And Bosco fundamentally will forecast what you're going to do next, in which channel, and ultimately where you should be spending your money. And it lets you save time, gives you actionable insights, make more revenue, and hopefully reduce your reliance on certain channels and will reduce overall media spend. So that's a little bit about us, what we do. But today we're all about the panel. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If I can ask the panel to turn on their cameras and introduce themselves. So hopefully everybody can see you. So welcome, thank you for joining us. So Neil, would you like to go first? Bit of a potted history. We do only have 45 minutes, so yeah, it's just the most relevant and pertinent points, please.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, John. Pleasure to be with you today. Yeah, I've got over 20 years, probably even more actually, digital experience in different businesses, in multi-channel businesses, catalog businesses, and retail businesses. So being in all the different channels, all the different sectors, fashion, electricals, and sort of general merchandise as well. So across the whole gambit really. And today I run my own sort of digital transformation consultancy, and we deal with digital strategy, look at marketing strategy, look at implementation of new technology and how we can optimize websites, conversion, and sales, and make money in terms of for the different retailer clients that we work with. So very quick history, very interested in Black Friday, obviously being a retailer in the past and had different strategies for Black Friday, seeing different peaks and troughs on Black Friday. So I'm looking forward to an interesting debate today.
Yeah, no, good. Thanks for joining us, Neil. And Rebekah, which is your official stage name, or Bex, as we call you.
Yeah, I was going to say Bex. Most people know me as Bex. But yeah, I'm a performance marketing manager here at Modo 25. So I have the pleasure of working with John on a day-to-day basis. I have around 7 years experience in digital marketing, so primarily search, shopping and social, so paid social primarily, but more recently organic social as well, and a little bit of influencer marketing as well. A massive fan of Black Friday simply because I love shopping. So yeah, again, really excited to be part of this panel and go through some juicy topics.
Yeah, so and if you want to fire in any questions to the panel, or if you disagree or agree, or you've got a particular question, please use the Q&A and just ask us and fire away with your questions. If we'll take them live or we'll try and answer them. But I suppose the big thing I've been thinking about, and we talked about this a little bit when we were sort of planning for this, is do we think in this current climate people are gonna shop earlier, go earlier? As like, let's talk about brands first, not consumers. Let's talk about the brands. Are the brands going to go earlier and bigger with their discounts? Do we think? What do we think?
I mean, I personally feel like Black Friday gets earlier every year. So I wouldn't be surprised if people do go earlier, because I think as soon as one brand goes, everyone has that backup plan where they're like, we need to go as well. Like, I feel like I saw it last year where promos were just dropping every day. And by Black Friday, everyone was obviously in sale. But yeah, I think because we've come out of that pandemic era and people are keen to create that excitement around Black Friday, I personally feel like it's gonna kick off probably in October.
You're going, or you're not even going to wait till November?
No, I think there'll be deals dropping in October.
Yeah, it tends to get earlier every year, doesn't it? I think, you know, everyone has traditionally now calls it Black November rather than just Black Friday, but I think you're right. And also this year, we've got a couple of special factors, haven't we? We've got sort of very high inflation, the cost of living crisis, and we've got the World Cup, which is normally a summer event, smack in the middle of Black Friday. So I think the brands will have been planning this for the last few weeks, planning their creative and looking at a very early start. And, you know, as long as brands have their stock and they've bought enough stock and aren't under any macro cash, you know, pressures that some retailers are under at the moment, then I think you'll find, Bex, you're right. I think they'll be going as early as possible to try and entice that spend from customers who are going to be hit with, you know, high energy costs, starts tomorrow, doesn't it, in terms of October the 1st, but you know, actually getting their first bills at the end of October and actually getting their first shock in terms of what those payments could be.
I don't think it'll be mass sales in October, but I think there'll be like glimpses of, oh, there's 15% off, and I think it'll hint on the fact that it's like an early Black Friday offer.
And do we think people are now still obsessed with the term Black Friday, or is it just literally almost like this pre-Christmas sale period? Because some people have even stopped referring to it as Black Friday because it is now just November becomes the month of let's pull those Christmas sales forward. Is that what we're thinking? Because I know when I was at an IMRG presentation recently, and they were saying some people even don't refer to it as Black Friday. It's just sale now on prices from this, and this. I don't know, Neil. What do you reckon? Are people? It's less about the Friday and it's more just about the whole month.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, I think you do build up to the Black Friday and actually use the creative Black Friday when you have that opportunity, and then use the following Monday as the Cyber Monday. So I think as a creative option, it's there, but you possibly don't use Black Friday very early when you go that early. But I think, you know, when you look at the colors that people turn their websites in November, invariably it's some form of black, you know, a lighter shade of gray to a dark black. So they're indicating Black
Well,
Friday.
we're all on trend. We're all in black. We got the print for Black Friday. We did.
Mine's
well.
actually navy.
Yeah, I went and got this. I thought I'd stay on theme, but yeah. So yeah, I think yeah, that subtle hint of black and the date coming up, and you get all the press, don't you? You get all that attention on the press, TV, and you know, a couple of years ago we had that stampede when Black Friday went into stores, and you saw everyone fighting each other for the TV set that was £100 instead of £1,000, and you know, you went to that crazy sort of where offline also went Black Friday, and I don't think you see that as much now, but but yeah, I think you get all that creative black, hint of black, all the way through November.
Yeah. So before we get into the detail of the offers and which brands we think are going to do the crazy stuff, and I've got, years ago, we used to do loads of work with Argos, and we used to do analysis on the impact of big sporting events on the sales of TVs. Right. And we've got loads of data that says before a big sporting event, people buy new TVs. Right. It's a good excuse to get more big TVs into your living room. But if I'm going to buy a new TV, do I buy my new TV before the World Cup, or do I hold out for the Black Friday TV special? Or if I'm smart and I'm a retailer, do I do a pre-Black Friday World Cup TV special? What do we think is going to happen?
Definitely the pre-World Cup TV special.
Yeah,
Dixon's and Curry's and all the rest of them, PC World and all the rest of them, they'll all be doing their TV promotions early before the World Cup fixture list starts. I think, if you look at the fixture list, I think on the Monday of the Black Friday week, England have the first game, and then they have their second game actually on Black Friday. So you literally need to have that TV, don't you, installed in the home the weekend before, really. So I think you'll find the electrical retailing will be actually doing their crazy TV offers and doing the normal ones that, if England win the World Cup, they'll give you the price for a lot cheaper, or give you the whole TV set back if you enter the competition, etc. So they'll be doing all the mechanics that you normally see around big tournaments, which are sort of excitable for customers to go out and get an 85-inch TV instead of the 45-inch or the 42-inch that they've got at the moment.
Yeah, because I think as well that they'll have plans in place for other things that they can discount around Black Friday. So again, it's just one of those things that they know they'll sell early because of the World Cup. So they can bring that one forward, and then they might drop in other electricals at a later date, but they'll want to flesh it out. So yeah, I think they'll go before for sure.
And we've just had there's one of the questions in the Q&A. We'll pick this off now because it's on our list anyway, which is how do we think the current economic situation will impact Black Friday? So I've got a view on this, and then you guys, I personally, and I don't normally bother with Black Friday because I never get round to organise myself to do stuff, but I certainly will be looking for Christmas presents, I think, to try and save some money rather than waiting till Christmas Eve. So I'm going to break a habit of a lifetime and buy Christmas presents in October and November and not wait for Christmas Eve to try and save some money. And is that going to be a thing? Do we think Black Friday is going to end up being bigger because of bargain hunters, or I don't know? What do we think?
I think it will be because of bargain hunters, and I don't think that there will be as much loyalty. I think it will very much go to, you're going to get the biggest deal that you can, and it might bring people, John, like you, for example, who maybe would have left things till last minute because of the economic crisis. It might bring your sale period forward as well, and you will look for those deals because of like economical constraints. We don't know what brands are going to do. I feel like it's a different situation that we've been in before. Like in the past, it's been Black Friday, everyone's kind of gone for it. This year, we don't know. A brand's going to go heavier with promotions, or have they got kind of cash constraints as well? So yeah, it's a tricky one. It'll be interesting to see for our clients how this period goes. I think I think bigger, and people are going to go for it along Black Friday.
Yeah, I think if you look at the forecast, I mean, IMRG do a little forecast, don't they? And their forecast for this year is -5 on last year, and last year was -10 on the previous year, obviously, which is influenced by the pandemic. So -5, I think, seems very pessimistic, particularly when you take into account that we've had inflation near 10%. So in real terms, -5 is probably -10 to 15 in reality. So I'm not as pessimistic as that. I always think whatever the troubles are in the world, whatever's happening, customers at pre-Christmas are looking for a bargain and are absolutely, guaranteed that they want to enjoy their Christmas, and they want to actually, splash out, and they'll take the pain later in terms of the credit card and the bills, through buy now, pay later, etc. And all the websites now have buy now, pay later options. So I always think people will spend, And then what will happen is that, you know, we'll see a very, very difficult January and February through those darker
It'll be
months.
interesting to see the stats, and I don't know if anybody's tracking this, of what percentage of sales go through the buy now, pay later, because I do think that is definitely, it's not just a trend, it's a thing. And I do think there's a certain demographic that's how they're getting their stuff now. The number of packages that arrive at the office, people, not you, Bex, other people.
I was going to say, I don't use buy now, pay later, actually.
Yeah, but it's but you know, it'd be interesting to see sort of how that pans out. One thing I think retailers used to do, and I think it's changing now, but is, do we just start with certain products for Black Friday? It's this whole debate of, is it site-wide, right? Do we just go, boom, 25% off site-wide, 50 up, and then there's the whole discussion about up to, right? So it's actually the big banner says up to 50%, and then there's one thing that's got 50% off. Or what do you think is the best strategy? And I suppose how do you promote it and then ensure that you don't over promote it and then just end up letting people down? Because I've looked for deals before, and you look around and actually it's all hype, and actually there's only one thing that you wouldn't want anyway.
Yeah, I think, I mean, in the past, when I've been on the opposite side of the fence, I've always tended to pick off categories or pick off products or groups of products in the early parts of Black Friday. So not go for the sort of big discount on everything, but actually try and make sure that you guarantee to the customer the deal they're getting on, you know, November the 1st or November the 10th is as good a deal as they're going to get at the end of the month. Because the last thing you want to do is piss off customers by, you know, getting them buy stuff early, and then suddenly the last 3 days of Black Friday, you wham your discounts up, and basically they could have got it a lot cheaper. Just encourages returns and refunds and customers buying it again, etc. And you don't really want to do that. So I've always tended to pick off categories or groups of products in very early and sort of promote that across, and then go for the big site-wide everything or up to everything. And obviously the legal constraints on the up to, so you have to have a certain proportion of products on the up to qualify legally as well. So you know, that tends to be normally what people do. But you know, again, I think this year it will depend on the brand and the issue around stock and cash that the brand has. You know, do they need cash desperately, you know, to keep trading, etc.? Because there are a lot of retailers out there, particularly in the fashion sector, that they're in a, you know, spate of trouble, and
I think
generate cash.
The pandemic and the whole aftermath of that has left people not sat on loads of stock, and actually, do they just want to liquidate a load of old stock? Probably not. They still want to try and get a good price for it. So I suppose there's certain types of retailers that choose not to play, right? So they'll do a charity donation or they'll do that. And some of those we've got clients who do both. Are they just going to miss out? Do they just miss out the sales?
I think people understand that if they're not doing a sale over Black Friday, if they're a sustainability brand or something like that, and their ethics don't align with that, then they may be willing to accept that they're not going to suck up loads of sales if competitors are offering, especially this year, because I mean, we all want to be more sustainable in our way of life, but maybe economical reasons, we can't be loyal to certain brands, and therefore we will look for a deal instead of going for that sustainable brand which isn't offering a promotion. So I think those types of brands will expect not to see an uplift in performance over like back end of November in particular, but maybe throughout November as a whole.
Yeah, I think most brands, even if you don't do anything, tend to get a halo effect on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but they just don't get the uplift that other people do that are actually participating. So you won't get that, you know, 60, 70, 80% uplift that you would be getting normally, but you'll get a 10 to 15 to 20% uplift just because it's Black Friday and people are in spend mode. And I think it's hard because some of the messaging around some of the sustainable brands that I've worked with in the past is that, you know, they'll give money to charity or they'll donate a certain amount of profit to charity. But this year in particular, I don't know if that's going to cut it for people who are not hardcore sustainability.
Well, charity starts at home, people say, don't they? That's charity starts at home, a lot of people say.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So I think it's going to be maybe a bit of a tougher year for some of those brands. Yeah, personally.
Yeah. So and with oh, we've just got our very helpful Modo 25 supporters told us that buy now, pay later was nearly 9% of payment activity in 2021. Right, that's nearly 10%, and that's up from 4% in 2020.
Yeah.
So I reckon that'll be between 15 and 10. I'd have thought, based on cash in people's pockets.
So that is a good hint, isn't it? That is a good hint for brands that might be listening today. If you don't have a Klarna, a Lay-by, or ClearPlay, or whatever, you need one of those options in your checkout. At least one of those options. There are fashion retailers with 3 or 4 of those options now, not just one, but you definitely need one of those options in today's climate.
It's almost gone from having the option of which credit card to pay with. It's almost like, so which credit card are you using? Now it's like, well, just which button do you want to click and we'll just take the money. Yeah, we'll just take your money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even more so this year, because I feel like we've said so many times, there is that element of, and you might want to bulk buy things. You're probably buying loads of Christmas presents and things like that. So day to day, and I do think it's probably more younger demographic that are going to use it. Like a lot of my friends will just buy absolutely everything on Klarna. Hence why I haven't got it, John, because I don't trust myself. But yeah, I think if you don't have those options on there, people are going to go elsewhere and find a competitor.
So there's a lot of data out there that it says that these bargain hunters aren't necessarily the most loyal customers. So, however, they're a customer. If you've got a good quality product and a good proposition, what are the sort of top tips to then turn them into a loyal customer? Because you've got their data, they've sampled your product. How can you sort of turn them and keep them into? Because again, people are going to play in this game. Ultimately, hopefully, they want to get more customer lifetime value out of these and use it as a customer acquisition tool rather than just as peak in sales. What sort of experience, I suppose, Neil, what things have you done in the past that will help people turn those bargain hunters into loyal customers?
I think you're right. I mean, a lot of people are promiscuous at that time of year, so they'll come in and out, and you might not ever see them again. But it is the highest level of customer acquisition in any part of the year normally for most retailers. So you've got to make that customer acquisition work, and it's potentially, the value of that customer acquisition you've then got to work at. So as soon as you've got their details, you need to be following up with email, SMS campaigns. SMS is now back a lot further back on trend. It sort of went off trend, but it's now back on trend again and it's been very successful. So you need to be using all of those methods in terms of web notifications as well, to get that customer back to make a second purchase. And if you can profile customers, a couple of businesses I worked in, we profiled customers on that first purchase to see whether they were most likely to buy again. And there are ways of doing that with your CRM teams, where you can start looking at the basket, the products that have purchased, the brands they've purchased, the amount they've spent, etc. And you can profile that first customer and then profile your second/third customer and see the likelihood of them coming back. And then you can actually tailor your CRM campaign based on whether you want to give a rich discount or less discount to that set person coming back again for that second or third time. So you can be quite clever about it but quite useful, but you need to use all the mechanics you have to entice that customer back again.
Yeah, I think that it's thinking about once we've got, and it's difficult now if we say to people, oh, you've got to go out and get a new CRM, they're probably not going to get it implemented and set up in time. But let's look at what you've got and what data you can work with. Because we've done some really interesting projects with clients. Actually, let's understand that customer lifetime value. If we understand, well, what was there a common first basket? If we understand the common first basket, actually, we can afford to lose money on that first basket because over time, and then we can potentially be more competitive. So the winner in all of this, at the end of the day, is often Google, Facebook, and the media platforms. All right. We've had clients, and the names can remain anonymous, but quite a big beauty client was nearly 10 million, not quite 10 million, just in the month of November, which is phenomenal. You've got to sell a lot of lipsticks and a lot of to get that money back. But I suppose from your side, Bex, when we come into this, how can we possibly help clients plan for this? Is it a case of we just want customers at all costs? Are people still looking at a ROAS? What sort of, because as everybody wades in on the auction just will go up. So any top tips or strategies or ideas around that?
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think around this time of year, we're seeing already costs increase across channels, never mind like out of season, but this season in particular, I think it's going to be higher than ever. I guess one main thing to consider is you really should raise your budgets. I know competition is going to be high around this time of year, but it is really vital to maintain the visibility. I think one thing that I've noticed in the past is that people have pulled back on budget because they're not seeing those sales come through straight away. But realistically, people are probably doing a little bit of research in the lead up to Black Friday. So you are going to get clicks. You're probably not going to see the strongest ROAS off the back of those initially, but it is around creating that awareness, creating that visibility. So I would say don't just pull back because you're not seeing that efficiency within week one. I think the other thing to consider is what are the goals for this season? Like, is it revenue growth, or is it efficiency? Because you can't really have both hand in hand. I know it's a really hard one, because I'd love to say we can get both, but we never can from like a search or social point of view. But yeah, I would say decide as early as possible what your goal is. Historically for me, it's been revenue, sales and revenue, and the ROAS efficiency clients have been willing to drop on because they just want that volume. And especially when we look at, getting customers further down the line as well. And if you've got your CRM and email strategy mapped out after, having that uplift of acquisition is really important during this time of year.
On that whole November, how do you spread your budget across that whole November to the end of Black Friday? Do you hold a lot back for the Black Friday event itself for that week, or how do you optimize that?
I guess for me, it will depend on when the sales are, but I wouldn't really hold back until that period, because like I said, there is going to be that research phase, and a lot of competition are going to be increasing their visibility as well. So if we pulled back and then pushed just when Black Friday was, people have already probably seen deals on X, Y, and Z, or they kind of been interested in those products and they know to go there. So that goes for both search and social. I guess for social, we can be a bit more creative. And I know, Neil, you touched on before different creatives around this time of year and things being black and kind of generating that awareness of things. Hints to the sale, I think, are really important. But I'd be interested to see if a lot of my clients do go with a black creative this year, because I feel like, are they going to get sucked in and kind of mask in with everything else, because everything else is going to be black? So we maybe do want something that stands out a little bit, and it's not just your classic black sale imagery. So that might be one to have a discussion with either people who are like in a creative space or designers at different options, and probably do some testing as well around like the black focused imagery versus something that does have a bit more of a pop of color, because we might find that they work better this year because they do stand out a little bit more. I guess the other one thing to mention, and this is more from a search/shopping point of view, is I would, as soon as possible, assign any custom labels to segment sale categories if the sale's not going to be site wide. That way, as Neil touched on before, we can drop in certain sale campaigns on shopping throughout the month. So yeah, I would definitely assign any custom labels as soon as possible to those individual products that you're going to push out into sale.
And would you, I suppose, would you even, I know you set up separate campaigns, so yeah, I'm going to answer my own question. I won't ask that question. I was going to say we'd obviously have separate reporting and a whole separate wash up, but I suppose you're still going to have some always on stuff in the background to pick up all that other stuff. But the thing is, people might ultimately, if they've only got a certain pot of money, they might be tempted to go, well, I'm going to pull back on my always on, and then I'm just going to focus it all over there. How do people manage that?
A lot of the time that does happen, and we do upweight our Black Friday creatives on social side of things, because that's what we know people are going to engage with more at this time of year. Like the always on, yes, it historically does well, and we know, this video usually works really well, but in Black Friday or Black November, when they're seeing all of these different sale creatives, that's where we want to ramp up the budget, because we don't want people to not see that we're running those sales, or we're thinking of running these sales.
And with Black Friday, and like now we've got all these new platforms. Are we going to see brands now, maybe who used to push quite hard on search or on Facebook, are they going to be moving budgets to the TikToks and the Snapchats of the world, or are they going to have to find extra budget?
I mean, I would say that they're probably going to need to find extra budget. I think just with the rise in costs across like Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, and Google and Bing, I think it's going to be hard to pull budget from those and put them into like TikTok and Snapchat. But I definitely would say, especially TikTok, just in the massive growth that we're seeing on that channel and the effectiveness of it, it would definitely be worthwhile to test that channel, even if it's more of, just a bit of a brand awareness lead up piece towards Black Friday, because then people come back on brand anyway, or they might go direct. But again, it's that awareness and it's creating that buzz. I think with a channel like TikTok, you can be really creative with those ads, and just create a bit of a buzz and excitement. And then, like I said, people might come back via brand or like just direct anyway.
Yeah, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because I think, as a retailer now, you've got so many different channels now that you need to be marketing on, that your budget has to be stretched even more. So, to actually maximize on all those channels. And I suppose that's where sort of Bosco comes in a little bit, doesn't it, John?
I wasn't asking you to do a sales pitch, Neil.
I'm not doing a sales pitch for you, but I'm just thinking, the whole thing, there's seven or eight
complicated. Yeah.
It's getting very complex. And I know, if you're a marketing director or an e-com director or a digital director or whatever out there, you've got this budget, and the CFO is basically pressurizing you on budget not to spend as much as you need to, but you've got all these extra platforms that you need to be on. And, how do you stretch that and move across the different areas? So, you need sophisticated tools to start planning that and to start experimenting, really.
I think it's tricky launching a new channel at this time as well, because the costs are going to be higher. So if you're not used to that channel and all of a sudden you're paying X for a click, you're probably thinking, well, this is way too expensive for a click. But really, you're in that learning period. So you're probably more likely to not have trust in it and then not invest in it in the future. You would ideally want a bit of a testing period before Black Friday. And maybe if you're not on TikTok yet, maybe it's a little bit too late, because you don't have that period of testing and getting an understanding of what.
We'll have TikTok on the phone now saying, "Don't say it's too late. We've got to get more clients on TikTok."
I mean, you can still do organic, you can still go to town on the organic content for sure.
Yeah, and in terms of offers, and again, this was something that IMRG shared as well. So for those of you who aren't on IMRG, by the way, you should go and sign up if you're a retailer. They share all the different industry stats and facts, and it's free for retailers to join. And it's like a community where they and we'll share the how to join later. But basically, they were talking about like some of the craziest offers they've seen, and this, that, and the other, and how it's getting more and more crazy. And I'm just wondering if Boohoo are just going to start giving you clothes and paying you to take them this year, because like Boohoo and Pretty Little Thing, I think it was 99% off, was it? And then we had
it was 101%.
101% off.
Yeah, and there was like a 1 penny sale, wasn't there, one year?
Yeah.
I can't remember who did that one.
Yeah, there's been a lot of penny sales, and 101% off on some things that they did where they were giving you money effectively to take the product.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, some crazy things happen. I don't think crazy things like that will happen this year, just because of the financial pressures that people are under and stock pressures. But I'm sure that there's going to be those 25% off everything's on Black Friday itself, on certain categories, or up to 70% off, whichever tactic you go. And you're right, John, you mentioned earlier, you have the choice, don't you, between an up to type promotion, where you've actually got products that are basically at that 50, 60 or 70% off wherever you set that mark. And then you have the site-wide promotion where you basically have, 15, 20, 25% off everything. And it depends on, I suppose, your strategy around stock, your strategy around fast movers. Do you really want to give everything, but high percentage off everything, or do you just want to be more targeted like a up to is? And different brands take different sort of strategies into play on there, depending on what that brand looks like and where they're positioned in the marketplace. So it's an individual choice, but there tend to be the bigger successes in driving revenue are the site-wide ones, if you look at the IMRG figures. But you've got to set that level, and I think that's the key area where the plans are within place now with most retailers to set that level, which side of the promotion fence you're going to be on. And then the last minute, there'll be all those changes depending on what your competitors are doing. So, you'll suddenly panic and you'll say, my God, they've gone 25%. We were only going 20. What are we going to do? So, and suddenly the creative has
and I think the data there was also, don't look at what they did last year because there's no correlation. All right. Yeah. So if you look at what your main competitors did last year and you planned all your creative around that, forget it, right? Because they're going to do something different, right? So I think come up with your own plan, the best you can do, and then just hope it was good enough. And if it's not, quickly rethink and maybe have a backup plan to one side. And I think, again, think about the backup plan with the creative, because we get clients phoning us up going, we need to just change everything. Yeah. And then everybody sat here. I remember it was actually just pre-Christmas. We were on the way to the Christmas party and half the team are sat in the office going, we're going to be late for the Christmas party because we've got to change all these creatives. And everybody sat there and we all just sleeves up and got on with it.
Yeah, I think it creates way more stress on a day when your competitor launches something higher than you. So while you're doing your first batch of creative, I would just do another one. Just get your designers to just change the percentage on it, so you've got it as a backup. Because I feel like every Black Friday or the promos change. We've set up a campaign, everything's live, and then within an hour it's change it. We need a new creative up. So yeah, I think definitely have that backup.
Yeah, and also I think you just got to make sure that obviously that you're, today the sites are a lot more robust and they'll stand up to the Black Friday volume of traffic. Mm-hmm. You just need to make sure that you're checking that you do have a robust site and you can stand up to it. I mean, I joined one business and we launched the Black Friday promotion and the site went down 24 times in 24 hours. We were fighting the site, trying to get the sales in and trying to keep the site up. It was just, terrible. We had to re-platform after that. But you just need to make sure that you have that sort of capacity there to take the traffic as well. So from a technical side, which I'm sure most retailers now are on top of, it's
you hear a lot less of those stories now. It was always like, whose site's going to fall over first? This sort of stuff.
Yeah. So I think this year it'll be more around the actual speed of the site, because I think people want to get on, and if that page doesn't load within a second, they're going to click off and they're going to research what they wanted and go to the next brand. So yeah, I think ensuring that page speed is absolutely tip top of your list.
Yeah, and that's one of the things when you changed your site creative and you don't optimize your imagery, and you're suddenly putting a massive mega image on your homepage, which is basically slowing everything up because you've rushed it, because you've changed your creative or you've changed your percentage or whatever you're doing. So you just need to be aware of all that and plan all that. I've seen that happen many a time where images could just basically are so slow.
So we've come up with we're running out of time, and we've come up with some really good, I think, takeaways and top tips. So I'm going to just summarize what I think I've heard, but if you want to think about your one top tip if I miss it. So I think the thing I took from you, Bex, was don't panic if you don't get the sales early in the sale period, and stick with it because people are researching. And then I suppose your thing, I think, Neil, was really think about the data and the CRM of when you acquire these customers. How are you going to then follow them up and think about that now? Don't think about that in 2 months' time when you wanted to re-engage them. But so we get all these new Black Friday customers. What are we going to email them next week? What we're going to do that? Or, and which you highlighted very well, is what we're going to SMS them. right? They can we SMS them, go, thanks, you're a new customer, first purchase with us, right? Join this scheme, get that, or do this, do that. Because again, it's how many SMSs do you ignore versus emails? Email's still a very, very powerful channel, but I think people don't tend to unsubscribe as much. They just don't read it, right? Or they just delete it without reading it. Whereas SMS, you very rarely ignore. It's there in your hand, isn't it? And now with the smartphone, if you get the right link in, they're then back on your site. It's not like an SMS, then they have to type something in over here. So, but I suppose if you had to give another top tip or to help the people who've been listening in.
I think the other one is make sure you've got buy now, pay later. You know, if you've got your payment, you've got your payment provider that's already sitting there, they'll have links with one of the buy now providers. So you can slip that in fairly quickly, you know, week, 10 days to get that in. It's fairly simple to do. If through your payment provider will already have those interfaces. So definitely you need that if you don't have it, because this year, the cost of living crisis, what's happening out there in the macro economy, you need to offer that facility to customers.
Yeah. Rex, one final top tip before we wrap up.
Well, I think mine is going to be, I mean, they were all really key tips, but having a backup plan, because if things don't go as you want them to go, having that backup, if a competitor launches something a little bit higher than you, just to avoid any last minute stresses.
Are you particularly saying that to any of our particular clients directly? Do you want to sort of call them out? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll send a follow-up email after this as well.
So, well, thank you for your time on a wet Friday afternoon in Leeds. I hope everybody has a great weekend. And just a quick reminder, let me just get that up of our next panel. Hopefully you can see that. We've got a conversation all about affiliates. Where do they fit in and how do they form part of your marketing mix? Especially a lot of brands and retailers have gone off affiliates because it was all discount codes, cashback, vouchers. But is that still part of the mix, and should you be doing that? So
isn't that all about parasites, John?
Parasite, yeah, we could talk about that. Yeah, the leeches of the e-commerce world. So we've got Awin coming on to defend themselves. So it's like it's an online white collar boxing match. So we should do a for and against, like the debating society. That's what we should. But no, that's going to be a good one. So if you want to come back and sign up for that, and again, it amazes me how many retailers have just given up on affiliates because it's actually quite hard to do properly. And I think that's part of what Awin's point is going to be, without stealing the punchline. But I do think there is some incremental uplift there, but you've really got to be on it. It's hard. And then if you do want to learn about moving in-house, download the white paper and we'll fire that straight over to you. So thank you very much for listening in, and hopefully we'll see you again next time. And thank you very much, Neil and Bex, for taking the time to join the panel.
Thanks, John. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.